Arizona again in October.
All right. We're live.
Welcome back, Mississippi wrestling fans, to the newest episode of the SIP Wrestling Podcast and the first of this upcoming season. What year are we in? 2025, 2026 season.
Year 5.
Yeah, year 5 of the podcast. Going strong. And year
5
of wrestling.
of the podcast. Year 5 of the season.
Whatever. Semantics. Same. Hey, we're joined today with David Sutherland. David, thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of it. As always, host Tyler Knox, co-host Andy Warren. Vice versa. He probably is more of a host than I am now, and I'm probably the co-host, but it is what it is. So look, let's dive into it. Wrestling this upcoming season. Are we excited?
Oh, yeah.
We got to be excited, right?
Honestly, it's been too long off season.
It has been a long off season, and it feels like it's been extra long since I missed all the postseason stuff thanks to soccer.
I don't know what an off season is. I think we start our off season in like a week.
Yeah,
we definitely don't start our off season for at least another week.
Well, y'all have been busy anyways with Fargo and all other sorts of things. So before we dive off into this upcoming season, do y'all want to talk about that real quick? Because y'all took some people at the Fargo who did some pretty cool things, right?
So we did not. So USA Wrestling did. USA Wrestling had two representatives from the state go. First was a young lady. Everybody knows her. Awesome. Addison Mullender. She went from the Ocean Springs, high school program, but she went with the USA Wrestling club, and she went to Fargo and went 3-2 on the tournament in freestyle. Wrestled really well. Did a great job. Got her butt whipped pretty bad in the first round, and then came back and just was dominant in her second, third, and fourth match. But she wrestled really great. And then we had Aiden Hansel out of Summerall. He doesn't wrestle for a high school program because his area doesn't have one. But he came out and he went up to Fargo and he went, I think, 1-2.
1-2.
But wrestled really well. He was going in the 16U division at 132 pounds. He was wrestling some dynamite hammers, right? So, but it was great to watch the kids from Mississippi. Those two are the first two of their gender to get wins at Fargo Nationals from Mississippi in the history. So, hats off to them. They did a great job. They worked their butts off and represented us really well.
Yeah, man, it was big stuff. Especially Addie on the comeback. It's disappointing to lose your first match, but it looked like, or it sounded like, she bounced back pretty well. So.
Oh yeah.
She did. She's done really well, like throughout the offseason at all the national tournaments that she's went. Made a pretty deep run right before the blood round.
Yeah, I think she got beat in the blood round.
So she's been on a tear.
And she's wrestling freestyle at these, right? She's not wrestling folk
style. NHSCA's is folk style, and then Fargo's freestyle.
Yeah. Okay. But no, and then so to cap off the USA Wrestling season, right? We had the state tournament at Oak Grove again. That was at the end of May. We only had one Triple Crown winner this year, which was Jordan Sherrod out of Vancleave Takedown Club. And then, we had a couple other kids that were real close to it. There was a couple kids that won, folk style and freestyle, but just didn't choose to do Greco. But that was it. And so hopefully I finally got all the awards in that had to be handmade and custom built for the Triple Crown Award. So I'm going to issue those out to those 3 winners from last year and then Jordan for this year. And have those with those guys, and we'll have those pictures posted on the USA Mississippi Wrestling page, and I'll make sure and tag and share it to the foundation too.
Yeah. And, one thing I've seen in the offseason a lot is, I think me and Andy both follow a lot of kids across the state and their social media and a lot of clubs. And Andy, it looks like there's been a lot of people going to camps this year. You seen a lot of traffic on that on your end on the social media as well?
Yeah. I'm sure we're looking at a lot of the same kids. I know Lewisburg, they went up to Little Rock's camp.
Yep.
I know we had a girl, Hannah Lindsay and Jayla Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just mind blanked that one. But they went up to Iowa for a girls' camp up there. That's good. I know there's been a couple camps down in Alabama, South Alabama, Florida.
Yeah.
That we've had some kids go to.
It's definitely
Yeah, St. Pat's, Oak Grove, and those guys went to a camp, I think, in Slidell that Slidell was hosting. And then also, I'm going to put a gutless plug out, but Caden Henschel is coming to South Mississippi August 23rd at Picayune High School. We'll be there. It's a 2-session camp on Saturday. It's $60 per person. And Picayune's going to have 4 to 6 mats on the floor ready to go for all the kids that want to come learn and wrestle. But that'll be at August 23rd at Picayune. And I'll get you guys the link so you guys can post it on your page for the signups.
I'm sure Andy can just
friend of the pod, Caden Henschel.
Friend of the pod. I'm sure Andy could just text him. I'm pretty sure he's got his number.
Yeah.
I don't. And I'm hiding from him. I owe him some gear, and I haven't sent it out to him. He's gonna come beat my ass. But yeah. So really excited. We're getting some good opportunities to come down. Just having Caden come down. That's a big name. I mean, the camp opportunities that we've been able to have throughout the last couple of years have been really awesome. I know Dave started, like Ken Cherto came down, Olympian, Max Mirren, Caden Henschel's coming down. I mean, like there's a ton of opportunities. And then there's more. So, yeah, if you're looking, you want to put on a camp, reach out. We have connections. We had a Division I wrestler that was trying to come down and put on a camp, and we just couldn't get anything to facilitate it or get it going. So, I mean, the opportunities are there. So,
and next year, be on the lookout next year. I've been talking with the Oklahoma State RTC about the Oklahoma State RTC coming out and trying to put on a Cowboys wrestling camp in Mississippi. It's going to take, it's going to be an expensive bill to do it. But they would bring down 3 or 4 of their quality D1 wrestlers as well as their coaches and getting those guys into the state and doing that, I think would just be a huge opportunity for the kids to get some mat time with those guys. They're going to do a little bit. We kind of talked to them about doing a 2-day camp for folk style and then doing almost a freestyle prep camp on the last day for that 3rd day. And so if we can get that put together and get it all working, I think that'll be a great opportunity for all the kids in Mississippi to get some mat time and grow it. But, second to that, they get to meet some really cool dudes and get to wrestle with some kids that they may have never gotten a chance to see before.
Yeah. And moral of the story is that wrestling's growing in Mississippi, right? So that's the moral of the story, which is a good thing, which leads us to our next point. And the first real topic of the upcoming season is new schools.
Yes.
We know you're in the know, so hook us up with some new schools.
All right, so I'll break it down. So this year, due to the size that we have, we've had to actually break the state down into 4 regions. So we've got 4 regions. Starting in the north, the Lewisburg area is where Region 1 will be. And in that region, you've got DeSoto Central, Olive Branch, Center Hill, Lewisburg, Fernando, New Albany, North Pontotoc, South Pontotoc, Pontotoc, and Corinth. Then when you go into Region 2, will be Oxford, Tupelo, Saltillo, Hamilton, Hatley, Smithville, Mississippi School for Math and Science, Starkville, French Camp, and Union. And then when you go into Region 3, which is the Jackson area south, we've got St. Andrews, MSB, Meridian, Mendenhall, Hattiesburg, Purvis, Oak Grove, Picayune, Laurel, and St. Patrick's. And then in Region 4, you've got George County, East Central, West Harrison, Harrison Central, D'Iberville, Long Beach, Biloxi, St. Martin, Ocean Springs, and Vancleave. So we've got 40 teams across the state now, 20 per region. And then, as you guys are in the know a little bit on the fact that we're having to kind of shift up our postseason guidance and kind of how we're going to do that to facilitate it. Because there's not too many schools that can host 20 teams in one facility. So we're figuring out how we're going to break that out and how we're going to kind of work all the details out for that. And those decisions are currently being made right now, and we'll have that put in the handbook, and hopefully the handbook will be available to coaches within the next week or so. But yeah, it's awesome. I mean, when you're looking at it, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 new schools started this season alone.
That's what's up.
We've got a couple that have said they're going to start and have programs this year that are not on this list that I cannot remember off the top of my head. But it's going to be awesome to see. I mean, I think by the time the season starts, we'll have 45 teams across the state is what I'm anticipating. But
yeah. Still 14 new teams this season. That's a hell of a growth. Hell of a growth. It just goes to show that wrestling is taking off in the state, and it's not just it's not just growing; it's growing. You know? And that's what's up. So we like to hear that.
Oh yeah, well, and when you think about it, I mean, if you look at the numbers, right? We had right at 30 teams last year, and we're growing by 14. I mean, we're busting out at above 30% growth rate every year. And that's massive, right? We were 50% the second year, and then we kind of slowed down a little bit last year and have just continued to grow. So it's good to see it growing and catching. We truly feel at the foundation that MHSAA will sanction this state tournament for 26-27 season. So the next reclassification year that they will actually, when they reclassify again, they will go ahead and sanction it in 27. Will be the first year that we'll have a no joke sanctioned state championship tournament under MHSA, and it won't just be an invitation.
So where was the backpedal that happened there? Because I know that we had like some really solid, like had the verbal, like it was going to happen this year. Like what happened to make that pushed?
So I'll be honest. I mean, I don't know, right? So MHSA has a board that they're governed by, and then they have their executive director and their staff. I know they pushed it to their board for approval for this year, and they came back with they wanted to see us with 50 teams. So the goalpost moved a little bit further for us, which I mean, whatever, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, the kids are getting to wrestle, and we're getting more kids to wrestle in school, and that's our goal, right? For Dave Sutherland, I could care less if MHSA ever takes a hold of wrestling, because I think our foundation does a great job at the awards for the end of the season. For every tournament we put on, the awards are not to knock anybody, but our awards are second to none, and I think that's across most states. So for me, if they never get a hold of it, I'm not going to be upset. I think it's phenomenal that the teams are growing, and we're growing as much as we are. But the kids are getting great opportunities, and we do a ton more for the kids throughout the season and in state than I think would happen if it was different, right? So, and when they do finally take over, it's going to be some pros and cons and things that people are going to have to kind of grow with and get over, right? But part of it.
Well, to play devil's advocate there, like, there's nobody inside of MHSAA that knows anything about wrestling.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm sure there is a little apprehensive about taking over because they don't know what it is. It's a foreign language. This isn't powerlifting. Powerlifting is pretty easy to understand. You know, I mean, and just about it's easy to find somebody in the state who knows powerlifting. This isn't bowling. Bowling's easy to understand. Like, this is a different sport. They don't know anything about it. They've shied away from it for the last 40 years, 30 years, and now it's being thrown in their face. So I'm sure there's a little apprehensive there. So, you know, I kind of agree with you, David. Like, you know, I want them to sanction it because I think that's the holdout for some of the bigger schools, especially in the Jackson metro area, like especially some of the schools I talk to. It's like, well, you know, the postseason event's not sanctioned, so they don't want to pull the trigger on adding it. But at the same time, like, if they do, if it does get sanctioned, you know, hopefully it doesn't affect anything that we've already put in place. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I hope the ultimate goal, right, is that MHSAA sanctions it and says, hey, your foundation has done a great job running it. We would like you guys to be our arm to continue to run wrestling. And you know, we'll be a part of it, but to really help hold their hand in through it for the first 2 or 3 years and go that route. That's our hope, right? And whatever happens, and, you know, we'll take it on the chin and roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, new schools. It's always fun to see new schools. Andy, is there any of those new schools that you're just really excited about?
You know, I think like the growth down here on the coast has been what's really caught my eye with it. I know the north half did really well on a growth period last year. They didn't add as many this year because I mean they had how many they had. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but they had a way bigger team pool this season than the South did. But adding schools like Biloxi, the rest of the Harrison County schools, those are good. It just shows that the growth and wrestling's here in Mississippi, and it's here to stay. And it get on board or get out of the way,
Yeah, I like seeing Hattiesburg and Purvis add because they're an hour and a half from the central part of the state, and it's starting to creep up into that central part of the state. And the more schools we can get close to the central part, then the better it is for me, since I live in the central part of the state, but also for the state as a whole, just to really put the pressure on that central part. So yeah, it's fun stuff, and I like the idea of breaking it down into regions. It just makes it feel like it's more, like it's bigger. You know what I mean? It feels like there's some validity to it now that there's regions instead of just the North and the South competing.
Yep. Well, and then the thing too, you think about it, right? So now, we're going to have some issues when it comes, not issues. That's not an issue, but we're going to have more kids not make it to the state tournament.
Yeah.
And it people will probably say I'm mean for saying it, but that's a great thing, right?
No, it is.
That means you're earning your way there. It's not just a free ticket because you showed up and you weighed in and you get to go. Like, more kids will be sitting at home when the state tournament happens and be pissed off that they're not there. And that will hopefully drive more off-season participation to get themselves more wrestling mat time, to get better, to try to get to that level where they're making it to state and they're qualifying.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what I was going to say is it's just going to help. It's going to help the quality of wrestling grow faster.
Yeah.
No one wants to be left out, and in the past, show up, make your weight. Even if you get your ass drummed, you still get to go to state.
Yep.
You can say that you were a state qualifier. That ain't a thing no more.
No, and I think that's a great thing. I think the growth and getting the coaches in and getting a ton of information to the kids. And I think all that does is then spread more across the coast and across the state to get more teams involved, because it's going to start forcing the hands of ADs, because they're going to have that many parents that are like, why is my kid not able to do this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's the competition aspect is definitely going to grow the sport too. And we've seen it the last couple years where the state tournament is getting to a point where it's actually a lot of fun to watch, and there's good quality wrestling that's happened. And then, so, I mean, that's basically going to continue. And it's not necessarily going to be the first two rounds kind of suck or whatever. I mean, it should be good quality wrestlers that qualified. They had to win the matches to get into those positions and to keep growing. So the match one, round one should be competitive. Yeah. And then the level of competition is just going to grow there.
Yeah, the number of kind of gimme wins that a kid can expect at state should drastically drop to almost none.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is this the state tournament? They should all be a challenge. It should all be a challenge, but especially when you get to those quarterfinals, you're going, this could go either way, and that's where we want to get when you get to that quarterfinals. Or even the second round, you're like, oof, outside of the 1 and 2 seed, this really could go anyway, and we're getting there. Yeah. Not even slowly. We're getting there fast.
Yeah, I mean, we're at year 5 and we're at 40 teams. And if I remember right, Arkansas was at 65 teams at 7 or 9 years, maybe 9 years in. And I know our goal was to try to get bigger than Arkansas, as fast as Arkansas, and continue that growth, right? So I think we're on track to try to do that. But we'll see, kind of how the next couple of years play out. But I think we've only got things going good. So
look, if we can grow at the same pace that Arkansas is growing at, and Arkansas has college wrestling programs, then that's big time.
Yeah.
So that's big time. But all right. Enough about teams. Some rule changes. You already kind of brought up the divisions now. Or the regions. So what are some other rule changes that some teams, parents, coaches, maybe coaches aren't looking forward to, but some parents maybe can look forward to, or maybe some insight? I know the coaches guide and coaches manual is going out next week.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully next week.
So let's can we drop some bombshells on people who are listening before the coach's guide goes out and really
Yeah,
get
I mean, I think
fired
there's
up?
some info that we can put out. So one thing we took off in discussions with the competition committee, proposed some changes to the executive board that were accepted. One of those is to remove the requirement for 5 events to qualify for postseason. Now, the only thing that would be a dictating aspect would be that you have to wrestle one time in the weight class that you're entered in for postseason. You have to wrestle 10 matches, though, to be even considered for seeding purposes in that weight class. So some kind of back and forth a little bit there to try to continue the growth aspect, but not deter. Second to that, we've got 4 schools that are going to jump in and be OPC test beds for the state to start doing the weight management program. And we're going to start off with 4 schools this year, and they're going to be test beds following that procedure and the process and the program, and then that will hopefully turn into everyone next year. But we'll have 4 advocates in the state that coaches can go to try to learn and understand the program better and all that. So we've got that kind of working. The other big thing, we took away the South State North State dual tournament because it just kind of seemed like it was an additional weekend for the same schools to go wrestle each other all over again. Well, now that we broke it out into regions, we're going to add that tournament back in. Locations are still being discussed and worked out, but we are going to be doing that again for North and South State to then get a qualifying set of teams to go to the state tournament from the North and the South. We are only going to have 1 South State and 1 North State individual tournament. We're not going to have regional tournaments yet this year. We want to see what this growth looks like, and then that's a possibility for next year to have a regional qualifier to even get to the South State tournament, which, again, like we talked earlier, when you start leaving kids out not leaving them out, when kids start losing their chances to go just because they don't get to show up and go, you start getting more effort and more work sometimes. So we're hoping to see that as a growth aspect, and seeing the state continue to work itself forward is good. Let's see. Any other major? Okay, so state dates. I'll go ahead and put the postseason dates out. So the South State North State duals tournament will be on February 17th. Again, location to be determined. We will have that location finalized for both areas when we put the handbook out next week. The state duals tournament will be hosted at St. Andrews High School in Jackson on February 24th. And then we will have the South State January 24th. I don't know if I said that wrong. January 17th and January 24th. I might have said those both wrong. Sorry. For the South State, North State individual tournaments, those are going to be hosted at a location to be determined still. Likely North is going to be at Lewisburg and South will be at Vancleave. But those are still being finalized. Those will be on February 7th. Then the state tournament will be held at St. Andrews High School on February 13th and 14th. So those are kind of the big ones. The rest of there wasn't a lot of rule changes. NFHS didn't really make any drastic rule changes to wrestling itself. There were some emphasis items this year from NFHS about stalling and some things like that, and how to implement those and how to ensure the matches are at a timely manner and being paced right. But outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot, from the NFHS world came down to the state with any changes.
Yeah. Well, Andy, look, he just rattled off a whole lot of rule changes. Is there anything that you want more light shed on? Because I know there's some that I want more light shed on, but I feel like I've been dominating the talking today.
No, man, hit it.
All right,
I have it's like the peek behind the curtain with the man himself. I'm in a wrestling room with like 2 to 3 times a week, so like I already generally know.
Well, I mean, I'm on the competition committee, so I kind of know it too. But all right. So let's explain a little bit more things, right? So the rule change as far as the qualifying to wrestle at state, that's a good rule change, right? That I like it. Kind of. I do like that all you have to do is wrestle a weight and you're qualified for it, or weigh in at a weight and you're qualified for it.
You have to wrestle at it.
Okay, well, that's even better.
Because we don't have anybody. So and with that, right? So some of the rules that we put out, especially for guys coming from other states, are like, why in the heck are we doing this? This makes no sense, right? Well, it does. Because when we have to make a rule that says you have to wrestle at a weight, there is no way for the Wrestling Foundation, any other coach, to verify that Tyler Knox was at St. Andrews and weighed in on January 12th at this weight, unless he wrestled a match and competed at that weight.
Yeah.
Now the difference in that, when OPC steps in and we actually get full OPC usage, every weigh-in has to be recorded in the system, and it'll be in the system to be able to go and look and verify. And so some of the rules seem a little bit like they're invasive in a way and saying, hey, you've got to wrestle at that weight. But it's because we have no other way to checks and balance that kid actually being at that weight on that day. And it wasn't just, somebody writing it on paper and saying, this is our weigh-in that day. This will help validate that. So
it's all in the name of safety, right?
Yes.
Like sometimes we forget, and we're all guilty of this. Every coach is guilty of it. Well, I don't want to say every fan, but all of us who like wrestling and know wrestling in the state are guilty of having the blinders on and just saying, we got to grow, we got to grow, we got to grow. Sometimes we forget in saying we got to grow that we forget the safety aspect of it. And the fact that we don't have OPC here is a huge safety red flag for all of us old school wrestlers who had that ability to cut 40, 50, 60 pounds in a season, and all three of us were probably guilty of that. I know myself specifically, I would leave football season at 205 pounds, wrestle my first match at 189. And then by the end of the year, I'd wrestle in the state tournament at 135. That's a huge weight swing from 189 to 130 that's unhealthy. We know this, we all did this. So that's the name of the game, is making it safe. Yeah. And, having somebody actually step on the mat and wrestle at the weight is in the name of safety and growth of the sport. And then OPC. So I'd like to explain a little bit more about OPC, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners are like, what the hell is OCP? What is it?
We've already got the comments, or we already got the questions. So let's dive into OPC, because I think that it's going to be that's something that's going to need.
When it first fully gets in the state, people are going to hate it until they love it. So, David, do you want to take the reins on explaining OPC, or do you want me and Andy to try to?
Either way. I can. So OPC is one of those things that it started my 2011, or 2008, my freshman year of high school. We started OPC, huh?
Way after me and David were done.
Yeah. So OPC started for us. So that's why, when you were like, yeah, we were cutting massive amounts of weight, and I just shook my head no, because I was already in OPC. Basically, you come in, you take. Are we going to do the hydration test aspect of it? Okay. So you come in, you pee in a cup, they take a thermometer looking thing, and they dip it in, and it says hydrated or not. And so then after you're hydrated, then they'll do optimal percentage.
Optimal performance calculator.
Yeah. But it's a body fat scan, essentially. We did ours with these pinchers. So the athletic director came in,
calipers.
Yep, and there drew X's on 3 parts of our body, and then hit each of them 3 times, and then punched numbers into the system, and it calculated out your body fat. And then with OPC you'll get a printed breakdown of every week what weight, your lowest weight that you can be at. And then I want to say for us, the lowest body fat percentage that we could be was 7%, 6%, 7%. And so if you were higher on the body fat, you say you were up there 15, 16%, it would let you break down how much weight you could lose per week safely, and until you hit that 7% mark. And then it says no more. You cannot drop any more weight after that.
Yeah. So to make it easy to understand, it's a scientific method, medical scientific method.
Well, and hang on real quick. So most of the states are no longer using the fat caliper test, right? Because there's some subjectivity to that, to where depending on how good the person is that's actually doing it, I could be 40% body fat, or somebody tell me I'm real skinny at 18, right? And I'm not. So normally, and most of the surrounding states, they use a specific scale that does a body fat composition analyzer, and there's one of them's the Tanita 3,000 or 300 W or something like that. That'll actually produce then what true body fat percentage you are. And then they can take that data and then plug that into the system, and it automatically calculates out what weight you can lose. And then the best thing, right? So what makes it safe for I'll say this, what makes safe for parents is if little Johnny wants to weigh, or he weighs 190 today, and he's like, nope, I'm getting to 150, right? This system may come in and say, Johnny, it doesn't matter. Your body fat percentage at 7% is 175. And it'll say, you can't cut any more weight than that. And then if he does cut more weight than that, he is ineligible to wrestle. So there's some factors in it that make it to where, for one, it's hopefully helping kids learn how to, safely and accurately cut weight when required, slow, steady, and easy, and then learn how to do it correctly, which is eating right, drinking the right fluids, not sitting in a sauna for 8 hours with a trash bag on and trying to, kill themselves out, but understanding their bodies, understanding how to lose weight properly. And that's what the OPC is for, right? It's to teach kids how to truly lose weight appropriately, not, hey, man, I'm getting my butt whipped at 65. I'm going 40. Like, nope, not happening. OPC says you can't, right? The biggest thing that's going to be a hindrance for most teams is the coaches in the state have to enter the weights every single day after they have wrestled in a tournament. Not every single day, but every single event that they go wrestle in, those weights have to be recorded in OPC. If they are not, that team is ineligible to compete in the next event they go to.
Right.
So there's some some growing pains that are going to happen. That's why we're doing test bed schools this year, to get some schools in it, to understand it, to be able to work through the process, and then get all those kinks and those errors written down, figured out, and be able to publish that to the coaches next year when we try to expand it a little bit. Right. But overall, it's a phenomenal thing for the kids to get that in place, right? And if that is in there, it's going to create some challenges for kids that think they're going to cut massive amounts of weight and they're not. It's going to create challenges for coaches based on how it's going to make them understand and look at their lineup in a different way, and then try to become an effective team in that sense.
Yeah.
So great. I think it's a great thing. It brings us, we're the 50th state that does not have it, right? So we'll be the final state that fully implements it in probably 2 years, I would say. Yeah. So it's a great thing. It's an awesome thing to benefit the programs. I think it'll increase growth in the state because, I mean, you guys all know it. If you Google wrestling and weight cutting, the worst stories on earth of the 0.002% of kids that have done it really, really dumb and either hurt themselves or hindered themselves or even, lost their lives. And that it happens, right? It's like no other, it's no different than any other sport. Things are going to happen and there's going to be bad things you can't truly explain or understand. But this will help hopefully sideline all of those thoughts and say, okay, hey, they can't do more than what's allowed. And it's going to look at it on a body sense per kid. It's not a paintbrush stroke that just says every kid on the team can only lose X number of weight. It's individualized training parameters that they can go off of.
Yeah. And again, it's all in the name of safety.
Yep.
And I know talking to a bunch of people around here, and I say around here, I mean the central part of the state where there is no wrestling really outside of St. Andrews and the School of the Blind and Mendenhall. You talk to them, and that's the first thing that a lot of parents ask, even when they start talking about trying to get into club wrestling, is, well, is it like MMA and the weight cut? And you're like, no, it's not. We do it in a safe manner. This is forcing our hand to do it in a safe manner. And it's just giving us a tool to tell coaches, administrators, parents, hey, this is how we're trying to keep it safe. So it's all in the name of safety. So that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. Now, let's go to the growth of it, right? So we talked about, you have to wrestle one event at the weight, 4 schools doing the OPC testing, but then you said that you have to wrestle a minimum of 10 for seeding criteria in the state tournament, which again is a good thing, right? So it's just forcing people to wrestle at the weight that they intend to wrestle in the state tournament.
Yeah.
Which is making more kids wrestle, and more kids wrestle at different weights. So that's a good thing too, and it helps Chris, who does all the seating, and if he decides to have a committee this year to help him, it'll just help that committee And it'll help people like me and Andy to say, all right, well, these kids are qualified at this weight. Now we can accurately rank them at this weight. We can accurately represent where they need to be in a tournament at this weight. And we build a better tournament. And you see more kids evenly matched, and it creates that even disparity in the state tournament instead of having, like we've had in years past, where somebody doesn't meet the seeding criteria and you end up, they only wrestled a couple times at a certain weight and they ended up getting a high seed and they had no business being that high seed.
Correct.
Now, that'll stop that, number one. And number two, it'll create even disparity so you won't have the top two guys wrestling on the same side of the bracket. So all in the name of growth, all in the name of wrestling, and all in the name of safety. So, look, those rule changes, I don't think any of us three, and I don't think any coaches really are going to argue it too much. I think we kind of appealed to everybody there and kind of gave everybody a bone. So that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. And in reality, right, when you start looking at when OPC is fully implemented, right, the good thing about OPC, there's a final date to be weight certified.
Right.
And being weight certified means that you passed hydration and then you got your body fat analysis done and you were given a weight that you can actually wrestle at. And if you don't get that done by a certain date, you're ineligible for postseason anyways. So that's the reason why we kind of pulled that eligibility requirement out, because in terms of OPC coming in, that rule is going to be negated by OPC's requirement anyway. So it was one of those where it was like, let's just go ahead and remove it now.
So we don't go through those pains later on.
Yeah, and just go ahead and do it now. And then for next year, depending on how it works out, when we either go to all the schools or some more schools, we continue just to slowly bring it in and then implement it in full, hopefully in 2 seasons.
Yeah. And then another rule change that you hit on that I'm super excited about, and I hope y'all are too, is the dual tournament happening in January opposed to February. Because we've seen it so many times where you go into this dual tournament and there's a lot of schools, a lot of the big wrestling schools are really trying to win this dual state championship. Like what we've seen here in the state, and I love you two guys, and y'all are obviously coaches at Vancleave, but what we've seen in the state so far is Vancleave is kind of running away with the individual state tournament title year after year. So there's a lot of schools, and I love Cody to death, but Lewisburg is one of them, who says the dual state championship is where I can get a state championship in wrestling. So they're throwing their stud kids out here, and these kids are wrestling their ass off to win this, and then they get hurt. Y'all have been victim of this in the past too, because you want to clean sweep it, as Andy has tried to say multiple times. Y'all want to clean sweep it, and y'all have been bit by the injury bug at the dual state championship. So I like that we're doing the dual state in January, so you can throw your starting lineup out there and really put the best product on the mat. And if you do happen to get an injury, hopefully it's not super bad, and you have a month to recover from that injury.
Yeah.
So I like that rule change. I don't know if a lot of coaches like that rule change. I don't care if they like it or not. I like it.
And I'll be honest, I agree. I mean, I grew up in a state where I think my senior year in high schools, they did the first state dual type stuff. Nobody cared. Even the good schools didn't really care, right? It was kind of an added thing that it was like we're talking about now. It was an added thing that most of the coaches, because they were set in their ways and they're like, look, it doesn't matter. So why are we even putting the effort at it? And they got a piss poor result out of it the first couple of years. And then from now on, it's grown and it's become a huge thing and it's been great. I think here in our state, it's been an opportunity to let more kids have more opportunity or chances at placing at a state series event, in a sense. Yep. And that's at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? It's about the kids getting recognition and earning it. And if it's with their team, that's just as good as getting it individually. Because we can't win dual state, I'm going to say that individual state's more important because we can win that one. But in reality, it was awesome. Like last year, dual state, that was an epically cool wrestling match, right? I mean, we had beat Lewisburg by 4 or 8 points in the season, and then we went and wrestled them in the state duels, and we got beat by 4. I mean, that's a poetic ending for their state dual season. I mean, that's an awesome thing for those kids, and it was an awesome highlight for those kids to see it. And then, even as the opposing coach, I was not happy about it, right? But it was awesome to see just how much the kids from Lewisburg were excited and happy about winning it, right? And
it was streamed live on Facebook. It was streamed live on YouTube. It was streamed live on Track. It got a crap ton of views, even post people going back and watching it just to see the excitement. It was exciting. I watched it from my house, and I jumped up and down. It was great. It was fun to see.
I hope you break a leg next time. Dave.
Yeah, me too.
Why would you say that?
I come from a state where we don't have a state duels tournament either. So I could honestly care less about the state duels tournament. But like I like the competition aspect of it. I like that the kids are out there being able to scrap. For us, for me, from a coaching standpoint, I like that we do get a glimpse and they get a feel of some of those kids that they're not wrestling more so through the season. So like wrestling like Lewisburg or North Pontotoc, those are guys that we don't really see throughout the season because we're 5 hours away from each other and we don't really go to the same spots. So that way we get to have those, make the adjustments and that we need to make. And it gives the kids like a quick look before we get into the big dance and the tournament that actually matters.
Yeah, and that's the other aspect of it, right? And that's why I like that we moved it up into January. So especially and I'm going to use you and Vancleave and Lewisburg as the example, right? Like you said, y'all don't get to see each other a lot. So now you get a kid from the north, we'll say Paul Harvey, who did very well in the north, struggled with one wrestler in the north, but figured out a way to beat him when it mattered most until the state tournament. But then he comes down and wrestles your heavyweight, and now your guys is like who y'all's heavyweight did pretty well in the South. You know what I mean? So now you get a chance for these two guys to meet, and then you can start game planning, and you have 30 days to game plan how to beat this guy at the state tournament. So it just gives you more to look forward to at the state tournament. And that's, again, from a content creator standpoint, for me and Andy's standpoint, it's even better because now we get to say, well, they wrestled 30 days ago.
Yeah.
Who has grown? Who has learned? Who has beat this
and I can tell you, and Andy can attest to it, but I probably watched that duel. I probably was 100 views of that additional views after the duel, right? For that specific reason too. I wanted to go in there, look at the kids, see how they're wrestling, see what they're doing, see what our kids are doing. And then, we as coaches all had notes on things we needed to work on based on who they were wrestling, what they were wrestling, how they were doing it. And that's huge, right? That's a great thing for us to be able to look at. The other thing I did was went in there and took screenshots of every one of our kids getting pinned and posted it in our team chat. So they all had to see themselves getting pinned by Lewisburg because motivation, right? Like it's one of those things like, hey, if you don't want this to happen again, forgetting about it's not going to keep you from letting it happen again. You're going to fail again.
So you Nick saving your kids? That's what you did? You Nick saving your kids?
I guess you could say that. But yeah, and we did it because it was one of those things and I'm dead serious on the fact that any loss I took that I didn't have to look back at and watch over again and all that, I pretty well, as a kid, I just moved on and forgot about it as much as I could.
Yeah.
I had a great father who wouldn't let that happen either. So we would rewatch those 8mm films and go there and see myself getting beat on by a kid and do it every week until I wrestled that kid again. So, it was a good thing for us to be able to go back and look at the footage though, and then be able to game plan, like you said. And it was awesome in the sense that, we actually went home after that and we sat down with the kids and we watched film at practice, at least I think 3 or 4 times before the state tournament.
Yeah. On
what they did against those kids and what they needed to do to improve. And then we went back to work and worked on it. Right. So, it really helps the state in the sense that, to me, the dual state drives that anticipation to watch the state tournament, right?
Yeah.
If you see the state tournament by itself, you go in there blind. If you see the South or if you see the state duels, you start growing some expectations of what you want to see. So you want to go watch the state tournament. And then when there's some upsets in there, right? There were some major upsets at the state tournament and people didn't anticipate them. But waiting to see that one kid go out and win it all, and then it didn't happen. So to me, it makes more viewers want to come out and watch. I think we had easily the largest state tournament attendance we've had in the history of wrestling so far, and I would say almost by probably double at St. Martin this past year. So I think part of that was people on the coast that hadn't wanted to make the 2-hour trip to Jackson got really, really, really thrilled to come watch it. And most of that is the coverage that we can put out of wrestling prior to that. That shows these big moments and these big things happening. So I think it's great. Again, I'm going to say I don't like the dual state just because we can't win it. But once we win one of them, sometime in the next 20 years.
I'm in the coming around camp. Like, I was the guy who's like, dual state, who cares? The more and more I watch it and the more I see it and the better it gets, I'm like, this is kind of fun. Like, I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. Again, I help out at St. Andrews, but I help out there so sparingly. I don't even know. Like, they call me Coach Knox, but I don't know if they should use the word coach. Because
I thought they started calling you the janitor, now
I'm like the ghost. I'm like the ghost, the figment of their imagination. Like, I randomly show up and they're like, "Oh my God, he's here."
If they start calling you Coach Casper, that'll be great.
Yeah, they might now. They might now because you just gave me that nickname. But my point is like, as a non-coach, like as just a fan of the sport, like I'm starting to come around to really like it. So, but I like that we backed it up into January.
Yeah.
So,
Tyler's that guy in St. Andrews that still shows up in his Letterman jacket, and they're like, "Why is this guy here?"
I don't even have a Letterman.
He graduated 3 years ago. Like,
and I'll be honest. So dual state to me is, and when I was, first out of the school and in the military, and I went home and I'm like, man, this is so dumb. But then when I was talking to the guys that wrestle and that do it, like, and the coaches in the state, they said, honestly, and Indiana's a state tournament where there's no class, right? So it's one state champion team.
Yeah, true state champion.
Yeah. So for them, they said, look, because back then it was like Evansville, Mater Dei, they were the powerhouse and they were likely to win it about every year. They were top couple teams, right? And our coach was like, look, I love it because of the fact that now we have 5 or 6 different state championship teams, and then you have the state tournament championship team. And so in a sense, it works, right? I mean, it makes sense. It provides more opportunity for kids to be successful. And at the end of the day, that's your goal, right? This should be about getting kids the opportunity to be successful. And if having the state duals tournament is that answer, then that's what we need to be doing. And I do think, because I'm partial to it, our individual state tournament, I would love it if it never became classed. If they never classed it, I would love it because
you're not getting an argument from these people. Anyways. I think we feel the same way.
Yep, roll with it. Now, dual state, class it because that makes sense when you look at a
team state.
A participation standpoint of if I've only got 500 kids to choose from and I'm wrestling like we'll say a Lewisburg, I don't know what school size they are, but if they were a 1,500 to 2,000 school kids, they're getting a hell of a lot more opportunity to get good kids than I am. Yeah. So, I get it in that sense. Now, there's never an excuse to lose, so that's not an excuse. I wasn't saying that. But what I'm saying is it gives more opportunity for more schools to be crowned champions, and that is great things for wrestling. It helps grow the sport. It makes it more attractive to kids to come out and do it. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, I'm with you. I'm not going to say I'm a fan of it because we can't win it, but I'm a fan of it from the board perspective and the foundation perspective. It opens opportunity, and that's what our goal is. Our foundation's goal is literally to get kids the opportunity to compete and wrestle. And if that's what we do, then that's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've hammered out rule changes. We're at about 50 minutes. Let's real quick, Andy. Outside of Vancleave wrestlers, what program are you looking to make a run at? A dual state championship, or just an individual wrestler that you're really excited to watch this year? Just any of those three. Doesn't have to be all three, just any of them.
I'm going to stay on the horse. I was on the horse all last season. I'm going to stay on the horse. Really excited with the growth that Picayune has had. And just like watching them continue to progress has been a lot of fun. I look for Picayune to make a lot of big noise. I don't think they graduated a whole bunch of kids. I think their lineup is going to be pretty consistent to what it was last year, other than Todd Brewer is probably going to be their heavyweight. But outside of that, like Picayune's probably my team that I'm
looking at outside of that.
They're a lot of fun, a lot of like they've put in a lot of work, going up to camps in Ohio, and they're hosting the camp in August. And I mean, just watching their kids, every tournament that we've had over in the off season has had Picayune kids. And they're good kids, great coaches. And their program's definitely on the right trajectory. I look for them to continue to grow.
David?
So I can't say anything about Vancleave, right?
Oh, outside of Vancleave.
All right. So there's about 6 kids in Vancleave I think are going to do phenomenal. But outside of that,
there's only 6 kids in Vancleave you think are going to do phenomenal?
No, so those are just 6 kids you wouldn't expect. You know the other ones. But no, so in reality, like, no joke, I'll be honest, watching oh my gosh, now that we're talking about it. God dang it. Oh, Virginia Beach Nationals. There's Jake Stewart. I think Jake Stewart's going to be a hammer. I don't care what weight class you put that kid at. Hammer. He looked great at the NHSCA Nationals. Went there and got him a win. But the kid's just got the great attitude. And he's a phenomenal kid. Funny as all get out, but he's been putting the work in. So I think that's one I can't wait to kind of watch his season. The other one was North Pontotoc. Gosh, I can't remember his name. It wasn't the Hale Boys. They were there, but I didn't get to watch them wrestle. It was the golly. He won it at 57 or 65, maybe.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank too.
Man,
not one of the Hale kids, but
it was the other. It was dang it.
Hang on.
Somebody's got to check.
Yeah, Google it. But so he was up there at NHSCA's, and he did great. I mean, he did a really great job. Coach Brewer and I both were wrestling and warming up with him and wrestling around with him on the mat. He's got some really really quick feet, and he understands what he's doing really well, which was neat to watch, especially for a kid who wrestled a couple years. So when I remember his name, or if I ever do. And hopefully he doesn't hate me for that, but he wrestled really well up there. I mean, and he was in a man's weight class, right? Like, he wrestled really well.
Sheffield?
Eli Sheffield, that's it.
Yeah.
Eli Sheffield was
fun to watch.
I mean, even at NHSCA's, like, he was trying some off the wall wazoo stuff with me and Kyle too, which was just kind of funny to wrestle with him and see him trying it. But he wrestled really well. Now on the girls' side of the house, I think you've got you've got a handful of girls across the state that I think are going to do some pretty cool stuff. I think Josie is going to do great things at D'Aberville. She's been working all summer. I think she's going to do really, really well this year. I can't say much about the girls up north because I just haven't seen them at any of the competitions throughout the state. I know there's a couple that came down to the USA Wrestling State Tournament, but Oak Grove still got a few girls that are hammers. The one girl that was at 45 or 52, Elizabeth Townsend, she's going to be a hammer again this year, and she's, I think, a freshman or a sophomore. Like, she's got years of just beating people up in the state, I think, is what's coming. So,
good.
But she's going to look really well. Now, looking at the state as a whole, I think we've got at least 15 or 20 kids that I would put on a team right now, and I think we can go compete with most states.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got kids that are that experienced and that
they bought in.
Well, and that able to wrestle at a high level that I think we could. Next year for USA Wrestling, I want to see us take 15 or 20 boys. I want to see us take 15 or 20 girls.
Yeah.
And I hope that the kids saw the success that Aiden and Addison had and kind of light a fire in their butt to say, I'm going next year, right? Because as you guys know, I mean, that is the tournament for a high school athlete that wants to be recognized and try to go to college. I mean, that is the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of Vancleave, that's what I would say. Inside Vancleave, we haven't put enough work in this summer. We're not going to be very good. The kids haven't bought in.
Can't get them to come to practice.
We've had some that just didn't care.
Yeah.
So, and as much as I'm sure my parents probably hate the schedule that we set for our kids in the off season, We wrestle a ton and force a lot. We've got a team going to Deep South Nationals this weekend coming up.
Excited about that?
Yeah, super excited, and I can't wait. I mean, last year we had one All-American come out of that, which was Caden Allspaw. And this year I'm expecting us to have. I really hope and believe that we'll have 5 or 6 kids that come out of All-Americans.
Yeah, for sure.
If we don't, it'll be a disappointing weekend. But anytime we can get mat time is great. There's like 195 total teams at Deep South from across the country. I believe if I look correct last, there was a team represented from all 50 states. So huge, awesome event. I know All-American Wrestling Club is taking a team down there, which is comprised of some kids up north like Jake Stewart, Clay Crane's wrestling on their team. They got some kids from Ocean Springs, Oak Grove, D'Iberville. They got kids from kind of all over. Missy Wrestling Club is taking a team. I don't know if they're in the girls division or boys division. I'm not sure. It just depends on what their lineup looks like. If they had any boys, they'd have to be in the boys division. But they're going. Joel Deere put a team together to go from a bunch of kids up north too. So, we went with 2 teams last year. We're going to have 4 teams in it this year. That's huge for the state. But that's also a neat place, right? Like if we were doing this podcast next Sunday, I'd come back and be able to tell you a bunch of kids that I wanted to watch this season because of just seeing what they're going to do with this tournament, right?
Don't worry, we'll do another one.
Oh yeah, but no. So, but yeah, I mean, outside of Vancleave though, I think there's going to be some great squads. I'm with Andy 100% team wise. I think Picayune is going to be the. I think they're going to be. I'm not even going to say a dark horse. I think they're going to be a team that is rivaling to win the state duels.
Yeah,
easy. I mean, I think they are easy.
So to answer my own question and to not talk about the South, since we've been, I guess it's been said that we only favor the South and not the state. I'll talk about the North, and that is where I'm the most excited. Storyline this year for me is the North, right? Vancleave Lewisburg graduated a whole lot of seniors. It's going to be fun to see if Lewisburg can reset and repeat and hold dominance. North Pontotoc is young. They did have an assistant in there, my buddy Paragon, who's getting ready to deploy at some time during the rest of the season. So we'll see if they can continue what they're rolling on. Then, Brian's no longer at Tupelo. And what's his name is no longer at Oxford. But Joel Deere took over Oxford, right? So it'll be fun to see what they can do under JR. I mean, like the guy or hate the guy, which I do like, Joel. Don't start that rumor up again, listeners. I do like Joel, and Joel has put out some really good wrestlers in the state. So it'll be fun to see what he can do in Oxford with a full team and see what can happen there. So to me, the storyline for the state this year is the disparity in the North. It's going to be fun to see what happens out of the North. And there's a lot of good wrestlers up there. So it'll be fun to watch.
Up north, I think, and I told Andy and our coaches last year, North Pontoc's a team that we're going to have to look out for all year.
Yeah. I think
we said that last year at the state tournament. I mean, they had really good quality wrestling, and they got everybody coming back. Yeah, I don't care who you are. That's tough to work with, right? Because they're going to be a handful for anybody. Yeah. I love watching, and I say up on Facebook about as much as I can. But Joel's been running that summer program up there. He's been working those kids. He's getting them into tournaments. He's getting them wrestling. He's getting them to camps. Like the guy or hate him, it doesn't matter. He is great at getting those kids to want to come to practice, want to show up and work, and that's what it takes to get kids to become champions at some point.
No, I agree. I think you have 4. I think you have 4, potentially 5 teams in the North who all could be really good. From Lewisburg, Tupelo, Oxford, North Pontotoc, and DeSoto Central. DeSoto Central returned some kids who were really good, who had unfortunate state tournaments, unfortunate rule mishaps. But it's going to be fun to watch the North as a whole this year. The South is going to be fun to watch. I think it's closer this year. It's not just Vancleave and Ocean Springs. It's Vancleave, Ocean Springs, Picayune, Oak Grove. And
I think you can take one of those schools out.
I know how you feel about Ocean Springs,
but I'm gonna cut you off I'm gonna go back before we come back down to the South. You're preaching to the choir. I think that Oxford being able to get JR in the room as a replacement for Conrad is great. They didn't graduate a whole bunch of kids. They had a pretty tough lineup last year, and then they've been putting in a lot of work over the offseason. And like to echo the praise, I mean, Joel has produced like great wrestlers. So it's going to be a really exciting and a really good situation for him to step into, and I think they're going to make a lot of noise. I do think that North Pontotoc being so young and returning, and they're also a club that does a lot of work in the off season. They're returning a lot of good kids. If I was going to go way too early prediction, North Pontotoc is going to be the team from the North. And then because they were a dominant team the first year. I think the second or third year they kind of slid a little bit down, and then now they're on the tear and they're coming up. And like we said, they're young. They've got a couple more years to develop and continue to grow, and those kids are hungry and they're ready to get after it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a fun season.
Now, real quick, the rumor mill always runs around, right? But if I heard right, and if it's correct, Saltillo is going to make a run this year, I think, and they're going to have a great opportunity to try to do some things that they wouldn't have. I know Steve Kessler, I heard, had moved over there to coach Saltillo.
I had heard that rumor as well.
Yeah, so if that's true,
news on my end because I had not heard that one yet.
If that's true, though, I think that really changes that perspective for Saltillo, and I think Saltillo jumps themselves into that run. They've got great kids, and they've had a great program so far, and I know with the kind of unsettled, issue of who was going to be their coach this year, because their coach that they had was, working, doing things and may not be able to be there. And so I think that being settled and that being moved forward, I think is a great thing. Down in the South, I think St. Martin is going to be a team that's going to step up and do some things. They had a coaching change this year. Nick Broom is now going to be the head coach for St. Martin. So him stepping into there, I think it brings them a good bit of opportunity to grow with him and learn. And I think that they're gonna highlight some stuff down this year, and I think they're going to show out too. So, with that, I think there's a ton of opportunity for great things to happen. We've had a couple of new coaches, like Matt Lynch took over D'Iberville program there. So, the new coaches coming in, I love that because the kids are going to get to see a different look a little bit. And they're going to get to grow a little bit. So I think, like Andy said, way early predictions, but I think, up top, you're going to have Oxford, North Pontotoc, Lewisburg, and Saltillo, with a possible DeSoto Central coming in there and doing some things. In the South, I think, it could be St. Martin, it could be Picayune, it could be Oak Grove, it could be Vancleave, it could be, depending on what Mendenhall looks like this year, they have always had great competitors, right, and great athletes. So if they actually get a full lineup, then they're going to be a handful for any team. So I think there's some programs that are going to rise to the top a little bit that we may not even be talking about yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be the best year yet. I mean, that's the hope, right? Every year is better than the last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I'm talked out. So, Andy, you got anything else?
No, I'm just appalled that you're talked out. I don't believe it.
Yeah, well, it happens sometimes. David, any last parting words?
No, hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm glad we were able to share some of the rule changes and some of the updates to the state. That's always great, getting that stuff out to people as early as we can and providing them with some clarity and some understanding early. But the biggest thing is everybody gear up for a great season. I think this year is going to be awesome. The growth in wrestling that we see every year is, we say it's a bunch of parrots. We talking about it every year at the end of the season, but the growth that we see and the wrestling quality that we see in the state is just, to me, is beyond what I could have ever expected when we started this 4 years ago. So, I can't wait to watch what we're going to see this year. And then, off-season wrestling. Kids get into it. It's massive. It's huge. It's awesome. And it's just a way to get better. Also, Vancleave versus everybody.
when y'all gonna give me some Vancleave gear? You know what I mean? Like I feel like I deserve some Vancleave.
You know, if you'd actually show up to an event, I'd give you some.
Fair enough. I'll take that.
Come raid my closet.
Yeah, I got a bag. I got a bag stacked up with crap in here for you. I just ain't seen you to give it to you.
Sorry, guys. You know, kids. I always talk about it, but it's busy. I've traveled all over the United States for soccer this year, and I'm about to do it again.
Yep. But no, hey, and seriously, back to it though. I really do appreciate you guys having it on, and you guys still continue to do this. And I'll buy you guys a beer because I know you don't get paid, so I'll buy you a beer next time we see each other. But I appreciate it very much, and thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, contrary to what people have been saying, we don't get paid to do this. We do this for free. If anybody wants to sponsor it, we're welcome to the idea of sponsors. Any local business, family owned, whatever, throw it out there. We'll plug a name out there. Any money we do make is just going to go right back into wrestling anyway. So,
amen.
So I mean, but look, we do love doing this. We love having you on. Everybody stay tuned. We have a whole lot of stuff lined out. We haven't even touched on the amount of kids that we had sign scholarships this past year, which was a huge amount of kids. We know that it happened, and we will talk about it. We just, give them their due day and actually have a conversation about it instead of, just throwing it in after an hour worth of talking about rules. So, but yeah, look, wrestling has begun. School's about to start back. School practices will start before we know it. And we'll be right into the swing of this, doing it every week. So, look, we appreciate it, David. Thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
You guys have a great night.
Andy, you're the best. Thanks for always, forcing me to do this and setting it up. But yeah, so yeah, I guess, look, until next time, let's wrestle Mississippi.
Let's wrestle Mississippi.
Wrestle Mississippi.